Hi guys! Today we're going to dive into the policing of black athletes and the many ways their image is scrutinized based on how comfortable they make white audiences feel. From Allen Iverson to John Morant to Shedeur Sanders, double standards are insane. We're talking about how hair, clothes, tattoos, confidence, and even the way they speak can be turned into problems in the media, when in reality they're just expressions of culture and individuality. This isn't new. It's a pattern that's been going on for decades, rooted in catering to white comfort and controlling how blackness is presented in public spaces. Cultural influence, double standards, and white comfortability are calling. Pick up the phone. Allen Iverson, known as The Answer, is one of the most dominant and influential players in NBA history. Selected first overall in the 1996 NBA draft by the Philadelphia 76ers after a standout career at Georgetown University, Iverson quickly made his mark, winning Rookie of the Year in 1997. Despite being just 6 feet tall, he became a 4-time scoring champion, an 11-time All-Star, a 3-time steals leader, and the league MVP in 2001, the same year he carried the 76ers to the NBA Finals. Iverson's fearless play, quick crossover, and unmatched scoring ability redefined what a smaller guard could achieve in a league dominated by taller players. Outside of his athletic success, Iverson also brought an entirely new cultural energy to the NBA. Coming into the league in 1996, Iverson carried with him the influence of hip-hop at a time when the NBA still presented itself with a clean-cut corporate image aimed at appealing to mostly white, middle-class audiences. He wore baggy clothes, oversized jerseys, diamond chains, and fitted caps to press conferences, unbothered by what was considered professional by league standards. His tattoos and signature cornrows weren't just style choices. They were visible declarations of his identity and connections to the street and the hip-hop community. To many young fans, especially black fans, Iverson's look felt real and relatable, a reflection of their own lives and style, not a polished marketing product. Iverson's influence extended far beyond fashion. His close ties to hip-hop were evident in the way he carried himself and the music he embraced, from the tracks blasting during his warm-ups to his friendships with rappers like Jadakiss and Nelly. He even recorded his own rap album, 40 Bars, though it was never officially released due to controversy over its lyrics, a moment that revealed just how uncomfortable mainstream media and the NBA were with overt expressions of black culture in their purest form. Iverson's crossover appeal wasn't about him adapting to the league's image, it was about the league adapting slowly and reluctantly to him. His authenticity blurred the lines between the basketball court and the streets, between sports and music, and it drew a new generation of fans who saw themselves reflected in him. But Iverson's unapologetic embrace of hip-hop also made him a lightning rod for criticism. Commentators and league officials often framed his appearance and attitude as unprofessional or a bad influence, language steeped in racial undertones. We see this with the introduction of the NBA's 2005 dress code, banning baggy jeans, do-rags, large chains, and jerseys when not on the court, which was widely viewed as a direct response to Iverson and the culture he represented. While the league framed the policy as promoting professionalism and a family-friendly image, many saw it as an attempt to police and sanitize black athletes' appearances to make them more acceptable to predominantly white audiences and sponsors. By restricting styles rooted in black culture, the dress code reinforced the idea that blackness needed to be contained or altered to fit mainstream norms, a form of cultural gatekeeping that reflected discomfort with authentic black expression rather than genuine concerns about professionalism. Yet even as the league tried to release that style, Iverson's influence became inescapable. And today, hip-hop is deeply woven into the NBA's identity, from pre-game tunnels that resemble runway shows to players partnering with rappers on music and fashion projects. So in the end, Iverson didn't just bring hip-hop to the game, he made it impossible to imagine the NBA without it. But wait, why were white people bothered to begin with? What is the psychology behind these black athletes' scrutiny? White audiences in the late 1990s and early 2000s were accustomed to the NBA being presented through a lens of respectability politics, where black athletes were encouraged to appear safe, polished, and non-confrontational to appeal to white sensibilities. Iverson's style, baggy clothes, tattoos, cornrows, hip-hop influence, broke sharply from those norms. Psychologically, this challenged what's called the status quo bias, the preference for familiar cultural patterns, and made white audiences feel their norms were being disrupted. Because Iverson's expression didn't conform, it triggered defensiveness, often framed as him being quote-unquote unprofessional or quote-unquote dangerous. There's a long history in American culture of associating certain aspects of Black cultural expression, especially those tied to urban life, with criminality or moral deviance. This is a form of implicit bias, where people unconsciously link certain looks, speech patterns, or styles with negative traits. Iverson's tattoos, chains, and cornrows were not neutral style choices in white perception. They activated stereotypes tied to thugs or gang culture, even though these were simply markers of identity and authenticity. These biases meant his individuality was essentially read through a lens of suspicion rather than self-expression. White comfort refers to maintaining an environment where white people feel at ease, which often means keeping expressions of non-white culture within boundaries that align with white norms. White fragility, a term popularized by scholar Robin DiAngelo, describes the defensive reactions white people may have when those norms are disrupted or their racial worldview is challenged. Reactions that can include denial, anger, guilt, or shutting down. The two concepts often work together. When white comfort is disrupted, white fragility kicks in to restore it. In Allen Iverson's case, his unapologetic embrace of hip-hop culture disrupted the NBA's corporate-friendly image. For some white executives, media members, and fans, this visible display of blackness challenged the norms they were used to, sparking discomfort. And then that discomfort translated into defensive responses, labeling him as unprofessional, a thug, or bad for the game. Not because of his performance, but because his authenticity didn't cater to white comfort. In-group, out-group dynamics also help explain why AI made some people in the NBA's power structure and media so uncomfortable. People naturally feel more trust and ease with those in their in-group, people who share their values, style, and culture, and tend to view anyone from an out-group as different or even threatening. Iverson's style aligned him fully with Black hip-hop culture rather than white corporate culture, which is the image the league had traditionally promoted. By refusing to tone down or change for acceptance, he made the cultural gap visible, and for some in the outgroup, that visibility felt like rejection. Instead of being celebrated for his authenticity, he was often labeled negatively. Criticisms rooted less in his behavior and more in the discomfort of those outside his culture. Ja Morant is an electric player in the same way AI was. He has aligned his personal image with hip-hop culture in the past, from the colorful dreads to the tattoos to constantly singing along to rap songs on Instagram Live to even hanging out with rappers. Many say Ja lost his marketability once he got in trouble for his gun incidents, which if you don't know, Ja first got into trouble in May of 2023 when a video surfaced of him waving a gun in a nightclub, which led to an NBA investigation and a fine. Then in July of 2023, another video emerged showing him with the gun on IG Live, but this time at his home. These actions led to two separate suspensions from the NBA. First, he was suspended for 8 games in March of 2023, and then for 25 games at the start of the 2023-24 season. The league cited conduct detrimental to the league as the reason for the suspensions. The connection between Allen Iverson's treatment in the media and Ja Morant's gun incident lies less in the specifics of their actions and more in how both situations became framed through racialized narratives about Black athletes. With Iverson, the thug label followed him for years over things like his dress, tattoos, and even his speech, none of which were crimes. For Morant, the gun incidents immediately activated similar stereotypes. While the act itself is different from Iverson's choices, the public reaction drew from the same well of implicit bias, equating visible markers of Black urban culture with danger, irresponsibility, or criminality. The difference is obviously that Morant's case involves a legally and socially more serious action, but the speed and intensity of the backlash, along with the way it was framed in moral panic terms, echo how Iverson was treated. In both cases, the media focus wasn't just on the action itself, but on what they represent. Young, confident, and highly visible Black men whose cultural identity doesn't cater to white comfort. The public narrative quickly shifts from the individual's choices to a broader policing of Blackness in the NBA. We see this in Morant's interview with Jalen Rose, where his colorful dreads and subsequent expression of blackness were pulled back out of the way while he expressed his regret for his decisions. Morant appealed toward a more cookie-cutter assimilation to the status quo image while in the hot seat. And in no way am I justifying Morant's decisions or saying they weren't ignorant, but I do think his choices were amplified because of racial undertones. There are definitely white players who have faced legal troubles, some with serious offenses, who receive more lenient treatment or less intense media scrutiny. And we can see the lasting impact of this scrutiny, with many claiming Ja's past mistakes prevent him from being marketable, which in turn hinders him from being the quote-unquote face of the NBA. This is seen in the opportunities and media coverage given to other players who might not have the same kind of influence or talent as Ja. Ja and his family are also given different treatment than other players who might appeal to white comfort. For example, when Ja does his celebrations, like the three-pointer, he faces backlash on social media, despite many players following suit. His dad also often faces backlash, while other NBA parents are just as, if not more, aggressive or interruptive during games. One could say that Morant remains on this kind of subliminal punishment, which on one hand, the organization has to protect their image, but on the other, you can't fake influence and you can't fake talent. Despite Morant's undeniable talent and cultural influence, it seems like the NBA has limited his opportunities. Whether that's fewer endorsements, less media spotlight, or stricter scrutiny on his behavior, it's almost as if they're sending a message beyond the formal penalties. This kind of subliminal punishment reflects how institutions sometimes police black athletes, not just for their actions, but for the cultural expressions and identities those actions represent. Morant's unapologetic style and refusal to fully conform to the sanitized image the league prefers makes him a target for this quiet control, showing that the struggle Iverson faced with image policing is very much alive today, just more coded and behind the scenes. Stepping away from basketball, Shedeur Sanders is another clear example of how black athletes' confidence and unapologetic expressions of blackness can make white audiences uncomfortable. Obviously, there are other factors, like his being the son of Deion Sanders, whose bold personality, willingness to challenge norms, and outspoken nature have made him a polarizing figure at times. But similar to AI and Ja Morant before him, Shedeur's bold style and self-assured presence refuse to fit the neat, sanitized image that sports institutions and the media often expect. His confidence unsettles because it demands black pride and individuality on terms that challenge long-standing power dynamics. This discomfort goes beyond specific incidents. It reflects the everyday reality black athletes face when they boldly claim space and demand respect without apology. It also is likely to have much to do with Shedeur being selected in the 5th round of the NFL draft, despite his talent and leadership. I would argue Jalen Hurts also fits into this conversation. Hurts is currently a quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, whom he just led to a championship at last year's Super Bowl. Hurts receives some scrutiny despite his success, however, it is normally overshadowed by love and appreciation from the city. Outside of his being a great player and leader, this is not by accident. You see, while Iverson, Morant, and Shedeur express their blackness through bold styles and an unapologetic aura, Hurts presents a more polished, clean-cut image that aligns more comfortably with mainstream expectations. Therefore, Hurts' scrutiny is more focused on his game and his skills rather than on his character, beliefs, or whether he's seen as a good role model or threat. This isn't because Hurts doesn't identify with black culture, but rather he's better at playing the game. He knows how to keep his public persona more acceptably professional and cookie-cutter. So while he may face racially charged backlash for his quiet confidence, his careful branding leaves little room for the same kind of backlash the aforementioned athletes have received. I think it's important to talk about these black athletes' experiences, as the policing of black athletes' identities, from overt criticism to subtle restrictions, shows how racial perceptions continue to shape their public narratives. Understanding these dynamics helps us see beyond individual incidents and recognize the ongoing struggle for authenticity and respect in spaces still grappling with issues of race, culture, and power. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know if you have any thoughts on these athletes down in the comments below. Bye!